Hello, everyone. I'm Tiger Stacker, your host for today's live stream, and I'm here today with my co-host, Frostbyte. How you doing, Frosty?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. Took another test for my career, passed the test. It's over with now. Getting ready for the next one. Fun, fun, fun. I'd rather spend my time in the coin shop, though.
Oh, who wouldn't?
Yeah, ain't that the truth? So today is a very interesting topic. Today it's not going to be political. It's not left. It's not right, but it is factual. It's going to be about selling your stack and what comes along with that, because you could have anything from having feeling like you're doing a good job to maybe not feeling like you're not doing a good job. And me personally, being an alpha male, I value my own personal viewpoints is how well am I being a provider. And when I've had to sell the stack before, I felt quite the opposite. Felt like I might have been a failure until I started talking to my wife, the Frostbite, that I was still being a provider, and the fact that I was being a provider because I had prepped a few years before and had the chance to continue to pay the bills and not put us in arrears, because prior to stacking, I was a horrible saver. And I wouldn't have had the ability to pay the bills. So that's the topic for today. And I'm going to hand the mic over to Frosty because he's got some very valuable pieces of information for all of you. So
So,
have at it, Frosty.
so the first thing that I want to do is for all of you who have either served with or worked for the United States Air Force, happy birthday. Today is the 78th birthday of the United States Air Force. So if you have members of your family that have served, or you have served, or maybe you've worked with somebody who's been in the Air Force, please let them know happy birthday. And again, Tiger and I full heartedly and wholeheartedly support our men and women in uniform. So if you are active duty, then we tip our hats to you and say thank you very much for the yeah, the effective chair force. Aim high, lazy boy. Yeah. So good old banter there. Absolutely wonderful.
My dad
So
was in the Air Force in the Korean War, so it's a very special, very very special service because of my dad's service at that time, and I even have respect for the Navy.
oh man, you better be careful. You're going to get yourself in trouble there, brother.
Understood.
Because you were in the rent-a-cop service, right?
You talking about the Army?
Oh no, the National Guard. And
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know that that's what they called that.
oh no, I'm just kidding. No, and
But
again, this is what they call esprit de corps. This is the brotherly banter. So, um, Neil, the king kept his army in his sleevey. Just saying. What's going on, Pete? All right. So today, Tiger and I kind of had a pretty brotherly chit chat, and it was like, you know what? This is something that I think we need to share with the group. There's a couple things to think about when you're selling your stack. And again, most people don't sell their stack because they want to. Now, some people with $42 silver decided they may want to take some profits. And if that's you, then great, outstanding. But remember that the premise of stacking, the premise of doing this is to set yourself into a position where you have the ability, the capability to sustain your family, sustain life, cover those bills, do those essential things should um, it hit the fan, right? Now, you talk, so Tiger, real quick, SHTF. What is SHTF?
stuff hitting the fan. Well, no, I was going to try not to use the bad word. It means basically something horrible has just happened. It could be anything from something in your personal life. It could be bad weather, hurricane, tornado. It could be a national emergency. It could be an international emergency. It could be things as horrible as like World War I and II. It basically is stuff that will put you and your family at risk because horrible things have happened. In my case, a year ago, almost to the day, uh, it was when I came down with a left leg cellulitis, which is a skin infection, and made me have sepsis, which was infection throughout the rest of my body, which, as I'm told, nearly killed me. So it can be anything, but it puts you in a position where you cannot, continue doing what you're doing, whether it's paying your bills or even breathing. If you don't mind, I want to say hi to everyone real fast. Hi, OC Stacker, Amy Harrell, Niels Han Dynasty, Frosty, that's you. Ellie. Let's see, who else do we have here? I think I saw Mr. and Mrs. West Texas Stacker, Amy Harrell. I think I got everyone.
Aspiring Pete Clark.
Aspiring Alchemist. Sorcerer Stan. Neil's on. Oh, I said Neil.
I think that's about it.
I think we got them all. Okay. So, SHTF is pretty much what's going to Matt Wing. Basically, anything that is going to put you in jeopardy, whether it's financial, paying your bills, do you have enough food and water, and anything you need to make it to the next month and the next month.
And so there's two comments in chat. One, L, you made me chuckle. I had to put my microphone on mute. Running out of toilet paper as a personal SHTF. But Neil actually touches on something really good, and that's, protecting yourself from the banking system. Historically, and we've seen this in the last 6 months or so, banking failures. And so what happens when you're in a situation where your bank fails? So there's a lot of different reasons that people stack. Now, what we're going to talk about, the direction that we're going to be taking this in, and Tiger, if you'll do me a favor, if you'll bring up my infographic that I created for this.
Okay, here we go.
One thing that's really important is that depending upon what kind of person you are, there may be things in your stack that cause you an emotional reaction. And it may not be the physical silver, the gold, the gemstones, the osmium. It may not be those items as a collective whole, but there may be individual items that cause sadness. For instance, let's say you have something that was given to you by your grandfather and you have to just sell everything. It's the one thing that's really going to be the thing that helps you get out of that situation. And you might get into feelings of grief and sadness. Maybe you regret doing that. Maybe there's going to be some initial anxiety or fear. But what we really want to get people to is the one with the star. See, this is the relief and clarity. And this is extremely important because when you, Michael stacking, use corn cobs. No. Yeah, nobody wants to use a corn cob. But the whole thing with relief and clarity is, why do we stack? Okay. What is the premise? What is the purpose behind stacking? So I'm going to talk about this in just a second. But what I want to do is I want to go back to Tiger's example of having to sell some stuff and what he has personally felt during this time frame. The reason that I'm subjecting Tiger to this is because there are some things regarding protective factors. These are the things that help us be better people. And sometimes we forget those. So Tiger, talk a little bit about the recent sales that you had to do in order to cover ends meet or do something like that. What happened in that situation and how did it make you feel?
It was really hard. I like I said, I've always valued my self-worth by being a provider and being a hard worker. And in fact, in the first few years about being married to Mrs. Tiger, I actually had 4 employers for a few months. And then the wife looked at me and said, "Why?" I said, "Because I want to feel like I have the right to be married to you. You're a great woman, and I want to not have you worry about finances." So I've always been that way, raised by a workaholic, became a workaholic, and valued myself accordingly. So when I had to go ahead and sell my stack, it felt like a setback, because being someone who's always set their goals and tried to attain them and usually do, then when you don't attain your goals, especially in my case, it was hard to look at myself with any decency of self-respect. It felt like I had lost ground, um, and that I would have to work even harder to regain the ground in order to further continue ahead. So it was, kind of hard for someone who values themselves based on their ability to work and provide and try to take care of the family. It wasn't until, uh, how do I say this? It wasn't until like a year ago. I was laying in the house, couldn't walk because of the pain, because of the swelling in the leg from too much fluid. But I couldn't walk. I knew I couldn't work because you can't see patients when you're too much in pain. And the tolerance for people being people uh, isn't there. So it was knowing I couldn't do it. I was making the right choice not going to work. In fact, my employer was trying to get me to go to work, and I'm like, I can't do it. I cannot physically walk from one place to another without an excruciating pain. And the most recent times, because of different things I don't want to talk about, um, I had to take care of things that, had to be done, and no matter how much I love this pretty stuff, I have a responsibility. Hi, Tim Irvins. But basically, I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to pay the bills, pay the taxes, take care of the wife, provide food, clothing, shelter, everything that all of us know so much about, because those are the basic essentials in life. And knowing that I had a step back, uh, a strategic retreat, as I later have come to realize.
So, real quick, chat, I want you to take notice of the words he used. We'll talk about that here in a second. Having to take a step back. So, go ahead and continue. I just want you guys to pay attention to that because we're going to talk about that here in a second.
As I said, it was a strategic retreat in order to try to win the war. And the war is taking care of your family and doing a good job. So, as my wife had told me, and later Frosty and I talk, it's like the wife and Frosty sometimes are talking to each other, but they're not. They just have the same mindset. And it's like, you're still taking care of the family because you had prepped, or I had prepped. I had my stack. I can rely on my stack. I can rely on that has value. It will always have value. No matter what the spot price is doing, it will always have value. So knowing that I could take care of the bills, I can deal with what I deal with and not feel as horrible, but it was still a very hard thing. I love pretty things, as I've told you all so many times. I love pretty gold. I love pretty silver. I love the pretty wife. I can't figure out what about Frosty, though. Never mind. So basically, The issue is that I will give up anything that I have to continue to be the provider. And it's a hard thing sometimes because this stuff represents more than pretty. This stuff represents my hard work, your hard work, Frosty's hard work. And, it's easy to spend the fiat dollars because we've been all taught to think that way. But when you have to work hard to get it, then you have to turn your fiat currency into sound money. That's an additional work. Then if you have to turn it back to fiat, that's additional work. Then to pay on your responsibilities, it's an additional realization of all the hard work you did, plus to go back and forth. So it makes it a little harder, but you got to take care of what you got to take care of. You got to put your big boy pants on and deal with what the cards that life's thrown your way.
So there's a couple things that were said in that, and hopefully you guys were catching it. So you heard Tiger do something, and this is something that him and I talked about. Number one, he was constantly trying to remind himself that he was doing good. Okay. And how was that? Well, I was doing this and then I had to take a step back. Now, I had to take a step back for him doesn't mean, well, I had to take a step back and think. He's fundamentally thinking from protecting his family, he's moving backwards. He's moving away from his end goal. And what has to be understood here is that when, as a friend, as somebody in the network, as a husband, a wife, a significant other, maybe a son, a grandchild, whomever you might be to the person who's selling this, there's some things that you should be aware of in this time frame. Again, protective factors. You want to make sure that the person who's selling their stack are not only emotionally and financially okay, but that you understand where they're at. So there's a couple of things that you can do on this. So bring that graphic back up. We're going to keep this up for just a second. Okay. And so there's a couple of things that I want you guys to think about when you hear of somebody who has to sell their stock. So number one, hey, Tiger, how are you doing after this decision? Hey, Tiger, what was the hardest piece for you to sell? Is there a piece that you're downhearted, brokenhearted? You just, you're going to have to do this. Is there one piece that's just crushing you? Is there a way that we can work on this? Can I maybe buy it from you and hold it? And then when you get back into a position, maybe you can buy it back from me at the same price, right? So there are things that we can do as brothers and sisters to support, to alleviate some of those things like regret and shame, or maybe the grief and sadness, because those things might have very personal value to that person, right? So really kind of understand what you can ask. Another thing is, and this is tough one. This is one that I had to ask Tiger. And when I ask him this question, he gets defensive. Yeah, he does. He gets defensive because it challenges something that he holds extremely true. He called himself an alpha male. Now, as an alpha male, you're the one that has to be in charge. You're control of the pack. You're the one that you don't have to necessarily be mean or anything else. However, it's one of those things that there's that feeling that you have to take control of everything. And in this, you need to ask people, now that you've done this, are you feeling better or is it still weighing heavy on you? Because just because they resolved the financial aspect of selling their silver and be able to pay the due, whatever that was, maybe it's the house, maybe it's getting food, maybe it's paying the bills, whatever it might be. Paying taxes. It's a great example, Tiger, right? You've been in that situation. You know what's going on there. As an independent contractor physician, you've had to be in that situation where like, oh my God, I have to pay my quarter's taxes. Did I set enough aside? What happened? There's another situation that went on. Yeah, well, no, I don't feel any better. Now I got to figure out what I'm doing. And now I'm set behind. Now I've got to resolve myself through this. I've got to figure out how I'm going to do this. And even though they sold their stack, they're still not emotionally in a position where they're taken care of. And that's the anxiety and fear, worrying about the things. Did I get the right price? Did I do this? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to provide for my family. So when emotions come to this head, there's something that we need to do. And all of us have these. We may not realize it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And there are some tools that you need to think about. Because when you have a person who's engaged or in deep anxiety or fear, or there's regret and shame or grief and sadness, as the other infographic would show you, people make decisions based off of FOMO. They make emotional based decisions. And I have emotional spending here, but emotional spending may not be physically buying things. It can be, but emotional spending could be giving stuff away. Maybe it's focusing so hard on other things that you don't take care of yourself. When we talk about the whole body, the whole person, you normally hear of the trifecta. Well, I think there's 4 instead of 3: mind, body, spirit. But the one that people forget about is finance. People forget to include that in their holistic, their whole being approach. But people also tend to look at the finance as the catastrophic one. So I have a question for you. Some of you have heard this before, and I actually asked this to Tiger because he was feeling down when we were going through this time, and he didn't think he was being a good provider. And he was worried about this small, little, insignificant amount of silver that he had to sell. Now, why am I saying insignificant? Because the value of his life, the value of the things in his life are so much more precious. If you had $1 million and you lost 1,000, would you put that 999,900 away? Or 999,999,000? Would you put that away and give up everything to look for that $1,000? Well, of course not. You got freaking 999,000 to go. Why would you focus all of your energies? Why would you focus all of your idea? Why would you focus all of your time on this insignificant 0.1% of what you have that is genuinely wealth? So when we are in this, there's some things that we have to look at. Mindful spending. Where are you spending your time? Who are you spending your time with? Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's people in the community, whatever that might be. Balance your budget. Look where you're at. Challenge the rest of your stack. Look what's in your stack. Look at what you're making. Look for positions. Try to identify what you've done. You look at the fact that, oh, hey, wait, I'm a stacker. What is my job? What is my goal as a stacker? To offset, to hedge myself against these situations. Hey, were you able to sell some silver to take care of your financial hardship? Yeah. Then didn't you accomplish the task with great fervor? Isn't that a massive accomplishment for you? You succeeded in your goal. Oh, by the way, his dollar cost per average is about $28 for an ounce of silver. He turns around to sell for 42. Dude, you're ahead. Why is that so important? Because it shows success. And now we're dwelling on success and not the potential feeling of failure for that 1% or that 2% or that 5% of what we have that brings us genuine wealth, right? Limit social media. Why is limiting social media on here? A lot of us are friends. A lot of us can help and support each other. Well, because we watch a lot of channels where there's some great people that give stuff away. There's a lot of people who are extremely wealthy in this community, and they're buying silver, they're buying gold, they're buying these really nice pieces. I was joking with Azure Blue the other day. He sent me a picture and he was like, check it out. I just picked out the sunflower gold. And I was like, bastard. I can't afford to do that right now. It's a beautiful piece. When you're doing good, you can joke about that stuff, but when you're struggling financially and somebody drops, $3,900, $4,000 on a piece of gold, it can be disheartening, especially when you've been at the point where you've been able to do it in the past. Right? Stop looking at the negative and cultivate things like gratitude. Start focusing on those things that you can impact, those things that you can change. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking about some of the emotional things that we hear about what's going on. There's a lot of different things that are happening in the world right now. Political, non-political, religious, it doesn't really matter what it is. The recent death of a very well-known celebrity. There's some of these things out there that are weighing very, very, very heavy on people. And we're going to be talking about that tomorrow evening. But cultivating gratitude, right? We talk about this in particular case. Oh, the loss is horrible. Yeah, but look at the impact that's being had. We often forget that there are so many positive things in our life, but we tend to focus on the one piece. And Elle, I'm going to ask a question, and this is going to be directed tomorrow. I'm not going to answer this or go through that today, but why does that weigh so heavy on your heart? And I really want you to think about that question. Why is this? Did you know the man? Did you know his family? Did you know his wife and kids? Why does that weigh so heavy on you? Why are there situations in life that we take up a mantle for something, but we don't really even understand the mantle? I want you guys to think about that. It's really important, because cultivating gratitude, cultivating that resilient piece, that building resilience, the one with the little muscle over there that looks like the little Popeye arms, right? He's got this little freaking chicken thing and this big old nugget. This guy, only thing he does is bicep curls. Yeah, resilience. But guess what? Focusing on your bicep is only a piece of the entire body. You want a strong body, you want a strong back, you got to work on your core. You want a strong chest, you better work on your back. You want strong calves and thighs, you better work on your hamstrings. Every action, there's an equal reaction in the opposite direction. So you have to make sure you're balanced, right? So what you focus on, what you think on is what you become. So make sure you have balance in your life. It's very important. But the one that's more important here is the redefining fun. This is the most crucial thing that we as a community need to come together for people who are going through situations like this. And why is that? I told Tiger, hey, you got some situations going on, and you're like, well, what do I do? Well, you have a hobby. You like to pour silver. You like to do those kind of things. But what haven't you done in a while? Now, Tiger, you used an example about something that's extremely personal. I don't know if you're going to want to say it. You can kind of change the exact item, but it had to do with something that you and your wife, when you first met, she would do something.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Okay, so you want to talk a little bit about, you don't have to go into the detail, and don't worry, folks, it's not dirty or anything like that.
No.
But
No, when we first dated, and we were seriously into each other from the very beginning. It was like on our first date, we interacted like we'd been together for years. She would bite my ear, and it hurt. But I never told her to stop because I knew that it was an act of love and affection. So I let her bite it. And if she bit harder, I still said nothing about it because I knew that I was being loved on while I was having an excruciating amount of pain.
I want you guys to listen to his voice right now. What does his voice sound like? Does he sound low or does he sound happy? He's smiling from ear to ear, right? Why is that? Because this is the cultivating fun. This is the reinvigorating of life. When life kicks you in the butt, don't turn around because it's going to kick you in the nuts. Okay? Move aside.
But you said we have to have balance.
Well, you do have to have balance, and if you move quickly, they won't be able to kick you in the gonies. But the whole premise of this is, yeah, you can turn the other cheek or whatever. But the whole purpose of this is to make sure that you understand your protective factors. Tiger and his wife they absolutely adore each other. They love each other. But when things get rough, little things can get into the mix. And so you have to be purposeful about those items. You want to reinvigorate fun, you've got to run around the house and and joke with them, play with them, tease them. Now do so appropriately. My wife is one of these people that she can take a joke until a point to where if I was to joke with her like I do my sons, she gets offended because my sons and I joke about stuff that is totally not appropriate for me to joke with a woman about. It's just not. It's not appropriate.
Mhm.
I can say things about kicking my son's butt, and if I say that to my wife, she's like, "Why would you say that to me?" So there are things you just don't do that. But there's a level of fun that you can bring to a relationship. My son and I recently, thanks to my wife, who purchased two plants. I won't get into that topic, but she purchased a plant that grows to about 8 feet by 4 feet for a 1 by 1 space. Yeah, it's like, babe. So what happened here? Well, my son and I took this as an opportunity to start reworking a flower bed and start doing some stuff. And we trimmed a tree, and we talked about what the interest might be and what we could do and how we could make it better. And we cultivated a bonding time through something that was very frustrating because my wife didn't understand what the plant's dimensions or its hardiness or what it needed to survive, the area that it would fill up. And I'm like, you can't plant that here. She's like, but I love the plant. I'm like, we have a 1 by 1 space. It's going to get 8 feet wide. There, it'll be, a stump. We can't grow that here. So my son and I took up the mantle. We did something. So what happened in that? We took a negative, turned it into a positive. My son and I started to develop this front yard, started to do stuff, and he came up to me one day and said, "Hey, I want to cut down the tree. I want to cut down aspects of it. We've been talking about this for a while. I'm going to call my buddy. He's going to come over. We're going to basically do this." And it's like, get some pizza, get some beer. You guys take care of it. I'll be out here to help. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on. I kind of will point, give you some guidance, direction. It was a bonding experience for my son and I. And so when you have adversity, when you have these things, you have to look for opportunities to be better. You have to look for opportunities to grow. And that redefining fun, well, that grows relationship. So now going back to those questions, hey, you just went on date night with your wife. You went and hung out with some friends. You did a live stream. A lot of people were joking. You got some great feedback. Now I want to go back and, hey, how you feeling about that decision that you made? Oh man, I understand what's going on, but you know what? We're going to be okay. Everything is good. Ultimately, I was able to accomplish the things that I needed to accomplish, and I'm better. Well, now what happens? The total attitude of that person changes. As a community, okay, all of you, we all come from different walks of life. And in many cases, most of us would never have met if it wouldn't have been for social media. So you can still use social media to do those kind of things, but you don't necessarily have to turn to social media. There's a lot of different protective factors that you can use to grow that. But I want to go over kind of really quickly one thing that we need to look at. Okay. So grief and sadness, metals are just assets, folks. Okay. If there's heirlooms, again, ask those questions. You'll never know what bothers somebody until you have the discussion. Remember, we talk about this, the current situation. We know what's going on when I say this. Be willing to sit down and have the talks. Be willing to agree to disagree. But if you come up with a problem, bring a resolution, bring a potential solution. The solution may not be the one that works. But if you start thinking about how to correct problems instead of just thinking about the problem, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. So it's very important that you look at some of these things when you're talking about relief and clarity, right? It's not about focusing on the sadness. There can be strong senses of relief when you talk about how to grow or how things improve. For instance, the sale of the silver solves the initial problem, medical bill, the rent, whatever that issue is. But remember that you also accomplished a goal that you set forth as a stacker. You did exactly what your stack does. And should silver drop, you might have the opportunity to do what Tiger did when he had the sepsis, turn around later when his situation improved and buy silver back at a better price than he sold it at. Silver's volatile, right? You have the opportunity to go back and forth. So again, there's always opportunity, even in the tough times. There's always opportunity for success. You just need to be thinking about it that way and challenge your own motives. If you don't take a moment to say, what is the legacy that I'm leaving here? If I don't reevaluate my goals, if I don't reevaluate what the intent of that is, then I might do something and forget the purpose for why I'm doing it. So constantly look back and revisit it because it's extremely important that you cultivate. There's a movie. You need to cultivate the strong mental attitude. Anybody know what movie that's from?
That sounds like Full Metal Jacket.
You need to cultivate the strong mental attitude. But yeah, so again, it's I'm going to wait for chat to see what's going on. But yeah, it's again, it's just one of those things you have to look at the positives. Remember the 98%. Well, so yeah, exactly, aspiring. You had to sell some of your stock. When you get into a position, you just have to do that. But not only does it make you feel better that you still have some stuff and it makes you appreciate that which you had, but aren't you glad that you had it? Could you imagine being in a point to where you didn't have it and now you had these situations? Oh my God. You didn't have to do that because you strategized, you planned. Nice job. Good work. Recognize those successes in your friends when they're going through stuff like this. Say, hey, I get it that that's exactly what it was. Tiger nailed it. But that is something that, well, it's also from Avatar. Um, uh, when he's standing there and Corch or whatever it is, the colonel, he's like, you got to cultivate a strong mental attitude. It's a Marine thing, but
The real side of the Navy.
well, the Marines are the best army the Navy ever had. That is true.
Before you continue, I want to point out something. I've been waiting for a chance to say this. I know that I have certain things that I wouldn't like to sell more than other things. And at one point, Frosty won a 5-ounce silver object. I can't say it was a bar because of the shape of Texas. And he was asked if they had ships. And that particular person, because it's a multi-person auction, said he didn't. But the next person ended up putting out a 5-ounce ship coin. And on that particular day, Frosty felt like he had tapped out. And so I went and got it. I went and put the winning bid in. And basically, it came to the house. I did a few videos with it. And I'll keep looking at it. And I'm like, I really like that. But if I get another SHTF, it's going to get sold, and it needs to be in a home that loves it more than I love it. So I called Frosty and said, "You know that ship coin that you didn't get because you bought the Texas one?" He said, "Yeah." Says, "How about we make a trade? Sell me a boring 5 ounce bar that I will have no emotional regret for if I have to sell it. And you take the ship coin because you'll love it for a lot longer and a lot harder." I protected my emotions doing that trade, and I was so very grateful to go ahead and not be putting myself in that position. And that coin is right in the middle of Frosty's screen. So if you know that you're in a similar type of position, maybe you can make a trade with someone in the community, make it an even Steven trade. And if you're worried that you're going to hit a personal SHTF, it's not going to affect you as much. I would have felt horrible if I ever had to sell that ship coin, knowing Frosty loves ships so very much, and I didn't give him a chance to do a trade with me. So that's one way you can also try to protect yourself if you think you're going to be facing an adverse situation. So that was my piece on that.
Well, no, and so there's again, so what did that do? Right? Again, growing your protective factors. What happened there? Tiger and I, we have done this a number of times in our friendship where it's like, hey, dude, I know you really wanted this. Um, there was a piece that I had been putting off to the side, and we were in Steve's, and he won a race, and he's like, give it to Frosty. Well, that credit was the piece that win was the piece that unlocked the the other piece that I was setting aside for Tiger. You guys don't know what that is. It was this one, the Frosted Flakes. And if you've never seen this piece, it's a really cool piece. It's Tony the Tiger. And it's a little dark here. I'd have to lighten it up. But the thing with the Tony the Tiger is Tiger and Frosty, the Frosted Flakes. It was just kind of a fun little play on words there. Not that we're calling each other flakes, but we tease each other like that. Um, but doing kindness grows that bond, that friendship. And we do a lot of stuff like that, Tiger and I. And there are other people that I do this stuff with as well, because you want to cultivate relationships. You want to cultivate um, those things in your life that when that SHTF happens to you, you have that strong connection, that strong commitment to somebody who's going to treat you fair, who's going to treat you right, who's going to have your back. And you guys know that when Tiger had his sepsis issue, I was all over informing the community about what was going on, talking with his wife, working with the hotel, working with the hospital, trying to make sure he had this stuff that was going on. Because these people are the ones that will grow your life. Again, the 98% versus the 2%. Focus on that 98%. So it's the relationships that are going to help you through these times. Now, tough financial situations occur, and unfortunately sometimes they happen. And there are going to be times where you just don't have it. In that time, it's even more important to have people to lean upon, because it's at those times where they start to focus inward, where really sad things happen. And this is why, when you look, and I'm going to talk about the veterans for a minute, more veterans pass due to self harm because they don't have that camaraderie that they had in military service. You see people who were firefighters or policemen, and then they retire. They no longer have the energy, the activity, the engagement, the life saving capabilities that they have, and they retire and they're lonely, they're sad, and they stack and they do whatever, but they don't feel like they're tied to anything. cultivate relationship, cultivate those protective factors, understand these various things that I shared on my screen about understanding what grief and sadness is, and who those people are that will help you overcome those variables. Be a part of the solution. Be a support. Be a part of the growth of people. Feed into people. Pour into people. Grow and pray and wish well of people. That is the stack that we all forget about and that we all take for granted. And that's the one that's going to get you through the really, really, really tough times. Maybe not the financial ones, but the ones that really matter, that's the stack you need to build. So again, Tiger and I talking about this, looking at some of these things, trying to really understand how can we best benefit the community. And it's going to sound, I don't know what the word is, self-absorbed, I guess, to say, look at the friendship Tiger and I have. Look at us. But that's not the reason that we're doing this. The reason that Tiger and I came together to have this conversation is because each and every one of you is known in the community. Each and every one of you should be able to work with people and get to know people and find those things. I like that one. You can tell I'm Popeye.
That's okay.
Here's a trivia question, real quick. This will be a channel round. Who is that with Popeye?
I know where you're going with this one.
This is a trick question. We'll see who knows their Popeye. There are two people. Everybody thinks it's one, but there's actually two. First person to tell me who that is. No, hold it up. It's Popeye and who? So it's Bluto and Bluto. It's not Bluto. I'll give you that much. Anybody else know the other gentleman's name? It was a very short time. There you go, Matt Winge. I want you to do me a favor. Let me refresh this and make sure that that's correct. Yep, it's still Matt Winge. Matt Winge, exclamation, or it's Frostbyte Coins, BYTE, just like my name, at gmail.com. Send me an email. I'm going to send you one of my channel rounds. It's Brutus, right? And Tiger and I have had these conversations, but that's a little Popeye trivia for you. But that is Brutus and not Bluto. So anyway, so what are your thoughts on this, Tiger? What are the words that you have? I talked for a majority of today, but what are your thoughts on
Not
this?
you. Never you.
Well, after we had that conversation, how did you feel? What were those things that you were able to take from the conversations that we had?
It refocused me on my non-YouTube mission. Okay. My non-YouTube mission, which started long before I started my channel, was to prepare for SHTF. And at that time, I was thinking about SHTF in the national or global scale. I never thought about it in a personal scale, but it refocused my attention that I could have been, my wife could have been, God forbid, more so my wife, in a situation where we couldn't have paid our bills or were behind, at which time I would have to find yet another way to double down or triple down the amount of work I was doing, which I couldn't a year ago because I couldn't walk. And with certain other things that have come through my life at this time, I might not be able to do. I am getting older. 16 years ago, I could maintain 4 jobs. And now one or two, and I've had enough. So if things start doubling you down on your life, and you can't double down in return, but yet I didn't have to worry because I could still go ahead and take care of everything. And it's like, you know, I can I can be in a better situation. And there was a time in my life as a child. It was my dad's story more than it was mine. He was a pipe fitter and welder, hard worker. Man worked real hard. The whole family did. And at one time, he wanted to become in charge of dispatching the other pipe fitters and welders in his local union because it was done unfairly. And my dad nearly won the election. We all believed that it was rigged. No, no pun intended to what we do to Yankee. And the guy, the incumbent, won because, in my opinion, he went to my dad at the time when he thought he was losing and said, "Would you keep me around and I'll show you the ropes?" To which my dad says, "No, you need to get out there like the rest of us and find out what it's like for us to be in that position," which I'm sure made him double down to win the election and then retaliate. At that time, my dad couldn't find a job, and he would have to rely on friends and family and connections outside of the local. He was driving from one side of Pennsylvania to the other, stayed with his sister, and come back. It's a 6-hour road trip one way, come back for 2 days on the weekend, and repeat for quite a few years. And that's hard on a guy in their 50s. Might have been a contributing factor to him having a heart attack, to which I lost my dad. I'm not in that position, thanks to the preparation that we've just discussed. And as I was talking to the missus and then also to Frosty, I realized I'm not in that position because of waking up in 2021. So it made me feel a little bit more comfortable, made me realize that I could take a chance to take a breather, not be so hard on myself all the time. So, the point I'm trying to make is the conversation with Frostbite, the conversation with Mrs. Tiger, put me in a position where I started realizing that a personal SHTF also matters. And otherwise, I'd have been in the same situation my dad was in. So, I was actually very grateful for the work that I had done. Very grateful that God woke me up. Very grateful to God for giving me the insight to do this. And against my own personal weakness, which was to have pretty things that I've said so many times in the past, you're not going to get your money back. But these pretty things is monetary at its base. So I hope that is something that you all can take home and make happen for all of you. We've just seen AA say that she's had the same situation, and some of us have. So that's pretty much what I have to say.
And I appreciate the candidness, Tiger. And I think, again, when we were having the conversation, it's like this is something the community needs to hear. Because when it's your turn to be in that situation, understanding that others have gone through it, having an idea of what they went through, understanding some of the strategies that they used to make it better, it's no longer theory. You actually see practical application of the stuff that we're talking about. And folks, everything that I gave you is stuff that I've gone through myself. Tiger knows, I went through, when it came to my daughter, I went through hell and back to try and maintain being a dad. And When you're in it, it is really easy to feel like you're isolated and alone. But it's important that everybody here understands that you're never alone. And, Tiger and I and Stack Elector, the Stack Elector aspect, the lector is to talk about our faith as just as much as it is stacking. And it's a very important aspect of that quad, that four fundamental elements of being a whole person. And that again is financial. Make sure that your finances in order. Make sure that your mind's in the right place. Make sure your body's there. I swim, and swimming is one of those things that I get into the water and my problems just start to melt away. And it's one of the things that I do working in the yard. Those are the things that help me riding a bike. Those are those things that help me to get out that frustration, get out that angst, and to feel better when I'm done. So actively engage and work on your body. And then faith. Have faith. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm not religious. I don't believe in that. Well, then cultivate a good social construct of people who are out there volunteering. Be be a volunteer. Big brothers, big sisters. It's an amazing thing to do. There are so many things where you can pour back into the community. Work to make an impact. That is important. It doesn't necessarily have to be Christianity. It doesn't have to be Muslim. It doesn't have to be Buddhism. It doesn't have to be an organized structure of religion. It can really just be about being the best person in your community. Whatever that is to you. For Tiger and I, it's faith. But for you, it could be something else. Identify what those are and work on them. And remember that there's only ever a small portion of anything that happens in each one of them. But you shouldn't get stuck on the 2%. Remember, you're a whole person. There's a whole nother wonderful aspect of you that you can focus on. So if you have questions or whatnot, if we can provide any information, I'm going to be giving these two things to Tiger. I'm going to be throwing them in my community page. So you can go back and look at these graphics. Anytime you have a problem, you're more than welcome to look at these. You can download these and use them as you want. They are open to everybody. But again, it's just Tiger and I's job here. Tiger and I created Stack Electors to grow community, to build relationships, and to tie people together through example and help people to overcome obstacles. That is stacking. That is being a service member in the community. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to say thanks for coming in and listening to this. This wasn't fun. We weren't talking about silver and hey, silver dropped. You have a great opportunity to buy. We didn't go over that kind of stuff. But this is really important. And again, if you want to be a whole stacker, you want to be a whole person, it's important that we have these conversations as well. Tiger, I'll leave it to you to wrap up, but you guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Frosty. Basically, one of the things Frosty did talk about, not everybody has the same faith or the same value system. I can tell you personally, because of the stressors that is within my life, I've shared many of them with you all. Not all, but many. And Frosty did mention a certain person who is no longer with us, who was a very good man. That was the final piece that I looked at in my life, looking at his life, realizing that all the empty spots in the jigsaw of my heart needed to be filled. So and you all can do things the way you want to do it. But for me, I am an Orthodox Christian. I came into the world that way, and I'm happiest that way. And I personally do have a personal relationship with God. Some people don't believe in going to church. I don't feel comfortable. The longer I'm away from church, the more uncomfortable I am. And I've made a phone call to the priest, and we've talked for quite a long time, more than once. And I would have gone in today for a confession for the first time in quite a few years. I didn't go because I got called away to take this test for trauma. It was a last minute thing, and getting a seat in a trauma class is not easy. But it's now rescheduled for Monday. So it reminds me that we have a lot of stacking to do. And the original stack, the final stack, is not this. The final stack is your soul. And the ultimate stacker, especially if you're Christian, is Jesus Christ, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, to stack us in heaven. Now, you don't have to share my religious viewpoints, but I believe that is going to be the ultimate stack. We are going to be the silver and the gold God wants to put into his kingdom. So do what you got to do to bring yourself back to the peace, the balance that we've talked about, whether it be the biceps and the triceps or whether it be your soul. So this is the best community I've ever seen. I can tell you that in my professional world, so very few doctors I can call friends. So very few of the people out in the real world I can call friends. I do have some. But honestly, you all have given me a much happier, stronger community, to which I want to thank you all for. Frostbyte member for 17 months, thank you very much. And Frostbyte gifted 5 memberships, for which I really want to thank you. I don't see any of them showing up. I'm looking, hold on, maybe, it's on the other screen. So let me congratulate those members. Let's see here. Congratulations, Matt Wing, Gata Oso, All Things Silver, Harley Babe, Bella's Forge. Oh, by the way, wanted to let you all know that this is September. I will be doing my typical quarterly membership giveaway. I'm thinking about doing it either this upcoming weekend or the next, depending on how fast I can get my next class in cardiac done. So that's coming. A little side note, I am plus or minus 30 subscribers away from 2,000. Once we break the 2,000 barrier, I'll be doing a giveaway party for 2,000 subscribers, which is a very important milestone. So that's coming. And the other thing is we have now hit, it looks like 28 likes. So I'm going to go ahead and get the tiger wheel ready to go for a quarter, silver quarter. So please go ahead and I'll give you about a minute to chat it up. So get that ready to go, people, because I'm going to be harvesting names here in just a moment. And then I'll be saying my goodbyes. So please get in there, and thank you for the $1 super chat. I'll try not to spend it all in one place.
Replenishing your stack 99 cents at a time.
Hey, whatever it takes, dude.
Thanks, Metal Matt.
Thanks. Thank you for the gift. Congratulations, Cindy Ray. Hey, Bits, how you doing? I see.
Yeah, and as Aspiring said, you folks, if you know somebody who's going through stuff like this, make sure you share this video with them. One, it helps support Tiger's channel, but number two, there's really a lot of information that a lot of people need to hear in this. And again, tomorrow night, it's going to be late. I'm going to start 11 p.m. Central. We're going to be talking about some really hard topics. And I want to provide some people some insights. And so Tiger most likely will be there.
Yes, I'll be there.
But there's going to be some hard discussions. So if you want to engage in that, you'll see the thumbnail. It's me and my wife, and we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. What does it take to make it through some of the situations that we're going through right now? What does it mean to be a good community member? What does it mean to be a man or woman of faith? What does it mean to show grace despite chaos and tragedy? How should we react to things according to the word? Like we're going to get into some stuff that you've probably not heard me talk about before. But I'm going to tell you this. It's 100% not political. This is just functioning on how can we as people work to get our nation back to where it needs to be. Because right now it's divided and it's torn and it's sad. And we need to grow our nation back. We had some good years and we squandered it and we put ourselves in some trouble. And we need to get it back. So there are things that we need to do to be able to do that. So it's going to be a great conversation, but there's going to be a lot of hard stuff you may not want to hear. So go check it out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really awesome topic to talk about. So let me collect the names here. I think I see maybe one or two more people, so I'm going to reharvest. And in fact, that's something I talked about with the priest today about I've never seen the country like this. I've seen people argue, but I've never seen things like this. And it worries me. Yeah, it's even more so when I'm away from home because I'm not there to protect the wife. But I have friends. My wife has a friend that's a deputy sheriff, and the two of them go out shooting together. So I have a little less to worry about than what I used to. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so these are the names that are in chat, and the winner is going to get a silver quarter. Please send a winning email or a claiming email to thetigerstacker@gmail.com. If some of my moderators can please put that in there. Also, please keep in mind, like I said, there's going to be the quarterly membership giveaway either this weekend or next, depending on how much free time I have. So just be aware it's coming. So here we go. We'll shuffle them up. If I win, I'll give away 2 quarters. Okay, so here we go.
If I win, I'll match it.
Okay, thank you.
Loud. You really need to work on that volume, dude. That's really loud.
Dude, I honestly think that maybe you're Clark Kent. I mean, crap, you can hear things going on down in Argentina.
Come on, folks. How many of you guys just had your eardrums blown out by that? Come on. Be honest. Be honest.
If it was too loud, type in there the word loud. If you think Frosty is too sensitive, type in there Clark Kent.
Huh? What?
What?
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, it's loud. It's not just me.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
It's loud. It comes across.
It's got to be from going out the speakers and into the mic, which is probably right next to the speakers on the computer.
Yeah, you have to set that volume at like 30%.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll work on that, but that's.
I wasn't talking to Matt Wing. It's Matt T. Coins that's actually the winner. So,
congratulations, Matt.
So send a claiming email to thetigerstacker@gmail.com. And, I think we've covered everything.
I think we have. And again, folks, I just want to say thank you. I just got this in. This is going to go in my typeset book. This is a really nice, like really nice
Oh,
barber.
that is a sweet piece.
Yeah, it's a good looking piece. So that's going to go in my typeset book. I'll do a little short on that one. That's going to be an upgrade. So I know that Michael Stacking's in here. He loves that, and that is just a good looking piece. So um, that was more for Michael than anybody. But so I'll do my upgrade, and you'll see that. But no, thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out with us. Again, it's an extremely important item. So make sure that, again, if you know somebody's going through this, please do me a favor and share this out. Number one, it does help grow Tiger's channel. We are on Tiger's channel. Sack Collector is
Oh,
a 100% team effort, but really, let's grow his channel. Let's get him to that 2K mark.
and make
And
sure you
I
go see
appreciate it.
this guy too. Go visit his channel, subscribe. He's a little further ahead of me, but I don't mind being a little bit behind. He has the ability to do a lot more on YouTube than I do. If I had more free time, I would. But hey, I'll get there. God will let me get there where I want to get there, and I'm tickled to death. Frosty's doing a bang up job. So
Matt's
please,
got jokes.
what's that?
I said, Matt's got jokes. He says, I'll send you the address for that barber. Yeah, he's got jokes.
So thank you everyone for coming to visit with us. The next time we do Stack Collector, it'll be on this guy's channel. It will be about 2 weeks from now. So make sure that you put it on your calendar at Frostbite Coins. So thank you everyone for coming. And thank you AA for that. And if on your way out, please hit the like and share it out, and make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell notification to make sure that you stay. So good night, everyone. Good night, Frosty.
Good night, brother.